I just finished listening to a debate with Alex O'Connor and Michael Jones, a Christian philosopher. And maybe I can link that video below. Maybe I won't. Maybe I will. You can just look it up on YouTube um, and watch it yourself. I love Alex O'Connor. I love a lot of his um, earlier material, his material now, his conversations. He's having a lot of conversations with, I would say, some evangelical, I suppose, but a lot of who he's talking to now are who I would consider the progressive, the very, very progressive theist. Those that still believe in God, value the Bible, Jesus's crucifixion, resurrection, all of that, but have a very updated view when it comes to hell, eternal punishment, and those kinds of topics. Hey, my name is Timmy Gibson, former fundamental, evangelical, tongue talking, Holy Ghost rolling pastor. Spent 30 years as a pastor. I know I don't look that old. 48 years I spent as a Christian, evangelical, fundamental type, Pentecostal, charismatic, health and wealth gospel type Christian uh, for a long time, right? 48 years is a long time. About 6 years ago, I began my deconstruction process. Clearly, there were questions and doubts and concerns that I had early on in my faith journey and my spiritual journey. And when I finally allowed myself to really investigate and give rational thought and stop doing the mental gymnastics that it requires to believe in that delusional world, it started, it just unraveled, and it's just like this Michael Jones, this Christian philosopher guy, some of the things that he's saying, I was like, yeah, when I left that fundamental group, I became more progressive, more liberal, accepted gays, and, started down that road of, okay, this stuff is wacky. This is clearly not how the world works. And if so, that God is genocidal. He's a monster. He's crazy. I think people like this Michael Jones, that's what they're seeing, right? They're saying, yeah, the evangelical Bible thumping type fundamental, taking the Bible literally true. I mean, he even said, like, yeah, well, of course, the stories in the Old Testament, many of those are just stories. They're allegory. They're not meant to be taken literally. Well, yeah, of course, they're not meant to take literally, just like you don't take Harry Potter literally, right? It's fiction, it's mythical, it's folklore, it's made up. But you sprinkle in some truths or some wisdom in there, and people are like, it's the word of God. Okay, clearly it's not. But I found the conversation, honestly, I'm impressed with Alex O'Connor, the fact that he can't, the fact that he can even have these conversations and remain calm. Because I'm listening to the conversation and I'm just like, that's just not even true. Like that's not true. There's something that Michael Jones said, and he's calls himself a Christian. He's a theist, whatever. And he said something that I thought, finally, at least someone's being intellectually honest here. And he said, now he goes, I don't know what happens after death. I don't know what eternity is like or what will happen when we die. And I thought, ding, 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 ding. And he even said this, he said, no one does. And, yay for you, Michael. Of course, no one knows. And what you're saying is all based upon ancient mythical writings, is how you're coming to certain conclusions about heaven or hell, or who goes to hell, who goes to heaven, and who gets truth revealed to them, and all these things, right? Even after, he even said, after you die, you have an opportunity to not stay in hell, that you could then profess the truth of God and switch places. You can jump out of hell and get into heaven. It's all BS, okay? It's all BS in my opinion, because I'm telling you, I've said this many times, I don't know what happens after we die. I thought I knew back when I was a Christian, a pastor. I thought I knew, and I preached what I thought was true. And now I do the same thing. Though before I said I knew there was a heaven, and I knew there was a hell to shun and a heaven to gain. I knew it. I knew it. I knew there was eternal punishment for your sins, and if you don't accept Jesus into your heart, you're going to be spending eternity in hell. And here's the thing. I know some of you, that is a fear of yours. I wish that I could sprinkle dust on you and get you to realize that that is made up. It's not anything that you or I should be afraid of. And that's not coming from a place of pride. I look at Christians and think, man, they're arrogant, pompous. They think they know the truth. They don't. They're trusting this ancient book that has some things written in it that seem to, if you put it to, just like this guy, Michael Jones. He's a Christian, but he doesn't align with a lot of Christians out there. Hello, cuss and discuss below. Read some of the comments that Christians will surely leave on this video. They think they have the truth. They think they know. You don't know. And even one of your own fellow Christians admits it. No one knows. So what are my thoughts on eternity? What are my thoughts on, because my thoughts are just as important as your thoughts, just as important as Alex O'Connor's thoughts, just as important as Michael Jones' thoughts, just as important of anybody else there that does videos, anybody out there that preaches. Like, all thoughts come from our own self. I did a video about that earlier. You don't have a relationship with God, you have a relationship with yourself. I know this to be true now in my own life, because here I am sitting here right now telling you I'm not a Christian. I'm an agnostic. I'm an atheist as it relates to the Bible God. I absolutely don't believe in that God. Clearly, just read the Bible, okay? That God is evil. He's a monster. He's genocidal. He's psychopathic. Clearly, just read the Bible, okay? And people say, oh, that's the Old Testament. Well, listen, number one, the Old and the New are together. It's one book called the Bible, okay? Number two, there's crazy stuff in the New Testament too. If you haven't read it, you should read it and just see. Take off the filters of your Christian belief. Take off what the pastor's saying. Take off what your prophet is saying. Take off all these people you think they have some secret knowledge of what's up, and just read the Bible. And I would think, and if you could just use intellectual honesty when you're reading it, you'll see, yeah, this doesn't make a bunch of sense, does it? It's a little bit kooky. It's a little bit wacky. It's a little bit like, just who knows? I've never claimed to know. I don't know what happens after we die. I don't know if there's a heaven or a hell. I don't believe that there is, but I don't know. But to fear that, to fear eternal punishment, I've said this before in other videos. Yes, if I was a Ted Bundy type or a Hitler type, yeah, those people should be scared. Right? I mean, because what if there is an eternal, righteous, omniscient, omnipotent God of the universe? I'd be scared too if I was living an evil life. But what I'm thinking of, when right now, I'm thinking to myself, I, as a former evangelical, believe that Hindus were all going to hell, Buddhists were going to hell, Catholics were questionable because they still had Jesus on the cross, and Jesus ain't on the cross, y'all. I used to think, I used to make fun of Catholics for that. Having Jesus still on the cross. He ain't there. He's risen from the dead and he's coming back soon. No, he's not. If Jesus existed, he died, possibly crucified, most likely, I guess. Maybe he did. That's what a lot. Bart Ehrman seems to believe that, and so he's way smarter than me, and so I just believe what other Bible scholars believe in relation to, did Jesus exist? I know I talked to David Fitzgerald, and he's a mythicist, doesn't believe that, he believes Jesus was fictional, which was interesting because in my interview, if you haven't seen it, it's in other videos. He did say that, because I asked him, so what about Paul? Do you think the Apostle Paul existed? And he said, oh, yes, I believe the Apostle Paul did exist. I'm like, what? I thought that was interesting to me, because I thought, wow, really? And he goes, oh, yeah, we have much more evidence for the Apostle Paul than we do Jesus. We have writings from the Apostle Paul. He even said, I think it was Bathsheba, or no, is it Bathsheba? I think it might have been Bathsheba. It was some other character, he said, and we have good evidence that she actually existed. I'm like, well, goodness gracious. So, not that everything, like literally everything in the Bible isn't true. Clearly, there are some truths or some historical things maybe drop down in there, but it's all enveloped in this fake make-believe story. And what's even more curious to me is how Christians don't even see the Bible the same. You have Christians all over the spectrum. You have Christians that believe in hell. You have Christians that don't believe in hell. You have Christians that believe that Jesus was God, and you have Christians that believe that Jesus wasn't God. He was just a prophet. He was just a rabbi. He was one sent by God to preach the good news. And so, and each person that holds that particular view, each Christian that holds that particular view, thinks that they're right. The way I'm interpreting the Bible is the way it is. I don't claim to know, okay? I don't know what happens after we die, but here's what I do know based upon what we can just see. It's, it's that whole God of the gaps. Anything we don't know, that's where God is. We don't know what happens after we die. Well, God does. I trust God. Okay. God of the gaps. What happens after we die? I don't know. Maybe we continue to exist. I don't know. There's zero evidence for that. Like Christopher Hitchens says, he goes, thank goodness there's zero evidence to say that there is a heaven or there is a eternal punishment, like a place called hell. So I think in the here and now is where judgment is. You do good, good things come to you. You do bad, bad things come to you. Now, it doesn't work perfectly. Like, it doesn't work perfectly. Some of the best people I know, some of the most kind, sincere, charitable, precious Christian people have had absolutely horrendous things happen to them. Death of children, just suffering, loss, and just trouble after trouble after trouble. Now, again, when I was a Christian, what I would have said, well, count yourself blessed that God feels that you're able to handle the things that you're going through, because the fact that you're going through them means that God believes that you can handle it. God won't put on you more than you can handle. I used to say that stupid statement. That is just ridiculous. Again, that's doing all the mental gymnastics in your mind, trying to make sense of something. So here's what I truly believe. If you're a good person, I believe you are, you have nothing to worry about when you die. You don't have to worry about punishment. You don't have to worry about hell. You don't have to worry about any of that. I get emails all the time. I just got one the other day, and someone says they're just tormented. They're deconstructing from their faith, but they're tormented by this fear of, what if it is true? What if I'm making a decision that will ultimately take me out of God's graces and send me to hell, and I won't be able to see and be with my family who has gone on before? I don't know what to say to get into someone's mind that is just a belief. It's not based upon facts, it's not based upon evidence, it's not based upon anything other than just a Christian belief. It's a Christian theological belief that that stuff is true, and it's been pounded into your head for so long that it's lingering there and causing fear. Even the Bible teaches that God is not a God of, he doesn't create fear in you. That's the devil. The devil's what's bringing in the fear. God is love. Which I do believe that the greatest, most powerful thing in our existence today is love. And guess what? You can be a person of love even as an atheist. I know that shocks Christians because they don't think that's even possibly true. And I know that because I myself used to think that. I did a video earlier about my misconceptions about atheism. Finally, that's why I'm able to say I'm an atheist, because I finally understood what it means. Watch the earlier video and you'll hear me talk all about that. There's nothing to fear in the afterlife. What we have to fear or be concerned with or to be thoughtful of is the here and now. Treat people kindly, be nice, be honest, be fair, be just, be charitable, be a person of love. Those are the things that matter. What matters is right now, right here. This very moment is what matters. It's all that matters as far as we know. So the whole idea of being an evangelical Christian, where your eternity is either captured by a belief. It's not about your behavior, it's about belief. Because if you're a kind, caring, charitable, good, loving Hindu, as an evangelical Christian, I'd say, well, they're still going to hell because they don't believe Jesus as Savior and they haven't accepted Jesus into their heart, right? Therefore, they are lost. They're deceived. They're going to hell. Can we use our brains just for a second here? If there is some kind of life after death, it would only make logical sense that you would be judged on your behavior, not your beliefs. Now, I realize and understand that our beliefs can translate into our behavior, but I'm telling you right now, as an atheist, I believe in all of those things: love, kindness, forgiveness, grace, I believe in all of those things. I just don't believe that Jesus was God and that he's coming back again, the rapture. None of that stuff is true. It is made up folklore. It is myth. It's no more true than the Harry Potter books. It is fiction. And the sooner we can know that in our own minds and say, there's no more proof for any of this Christian hoopla googly belief than the Harry Potter belief. There literally is no difference. There is no difference. Well, people are devoted to it. Millions of billions of people believe it to be true. So it doesn't matter how many people believe it to be true. Hello, it's a delusion. I used to believe that delusion. I used to believe in hell, and I used to believe in heaven. I used to believe in the rapture, and it was going to happen in 1988. My whole church got ready for it. And then it was going to, whoop, we got it wrong. It's going to happen in 1989. No, it's going to happen in the year 2000. When the clock strikes midnight, it's going to happen. Oh my gosh, it's going to happen. Here we are. All the prophets and the teachers and the preachers, even Jesus. I'm going to come back and you standing right here aren't going to perish before that happens. It didn't happen. Now, I know there's some Christians that also call themselves preterists. Well, Jesus did come back in 70 AD. That's why, yeah, the Christians that believe Jesus is going to come back now, that's not right. That's not right. Okay. Jesus already came back. Dadgummit. We missed it. Shoot. I guess my encouragement as a former preacher that used to preach hellfire, live a good life. Be honest, fair, just, charitable. Like, be a good person. And stop worrying about this fictitious, made up BS that people like me used to preach for 30 years. Believed it for 48, preached it myself for 30. I know it took a long time. I know it took me a long time to realize this. And that's why I'm doing so many videos, is I see the torment. I hear the torment from, like I said, I get emails all the time. People that are genuinely distraught. They're genuinely distressed over this fear. What if they're wrong? I don't believe in God, but if there was a God and he was loving, like Christians claim that he is, then just be a good person. Because listen, if this God is real, which he's not, but if he is, he didn't make it. It's why be so hidden? Why be so mystical and obscure, and why be so hard to find? Why not? Right? We have to read old Bible stories to find out about the miracles that God did. Well, he ain't doing no miracles now. I mean, again, I did a video about this. What about all the LA fires that went on? Like, what about all that? Where was God for all those people praying that the fire wouldn't come to their house? And here's what drives me absolutely bonkers. Clearly, not every home in the path of the fires burned down. Clearly, not every home burnt down. And you just know, I know this is going to, there'll probably be a podcast interviewing some family that said, we stood out and we sprinkled anointing oil around our property and we prayed that the fire would move, and it did. It passed over our house and it burned down the house next to us. And those people were gay, by the way. That's why God was judging them. That kind of stuff is absolutely, those people are insane. Okay, they have lost their marbles. They are, I don't even know the word to use about those kind of people, but they are absolutely bonkers in their brain. Something in their brain has just gone, something in there has just gotten squirrely. Because there are other Christians who were also praying, putting oil around their property and doing various things, and the flames came and just wiped out their house and everything they had. And that's sad. It should make us sad. I'm not happy about what's going on down in California. In fact, to be honest with you, my kids are there right now. Both of my adult children are in Los Angeles, California right now. And I'm recording this at the time of when there's a state of emergency in California. My kids are there for a wedding. And the friend that they're going to the wedding, they're uber evangelical Christians. And so I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, if their house doesn't burn down, or people that they know in their church can say, yeah, the fire went around our house and then went down the street and God saved our house, and yet burned down the other Christian's house right down the road. Guys, I feel a sense of frustration, because that is just ignorance gone to the mouth when people say that kind of stuff. It's just absolute. It's just their elevator doesn't go to the top floor. They're a fry short of a Happy Meal, right? They're missing. They have lost their functioning brain as it relates to God and how God works. There is no God. God is not saving people. God is not protecting people. People, it's random. It's random. You see, anytime there's a tsunami, tornado, earthquake, you name it, whatever's happening out in the world, it affects Christians, Hindus, atheists, believers, non-believers, tongue talkers, tithers. Like it affects everybody. So what happens after we die? Well, the truth is no one knows. I don't know. No Christian, if some prophet says they know, matter of fact, if someone says that they know and they talk to Jesus and here's what Jesus said, they're insane. Just mark it down, because I'm not sitting here saying I know. Here's the absolute truth of what happens after you die. I don't know. But I personally have zero fear. I don't have a lingering fear in my mind that what if all this stuff that you're saying, Timmy, is going to lead people away from the truth. I don't have that fear. Number one, everybody's accountable for their own life. You make your own decisions what you believe. Now, clearly there are some universal morality, and I'm not saying that you can be stupid and say, well, I think this is okay, when everybody else on planet Earth is like, yeah, no, that's not okay. So, when people say morality comes from God, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. We, as a human, through evolution, we know what's good and bad, and what's wrong and right, what's healthy and not healthy. Now, not everybody acts according to that, whether you're Christian or not, clearly, right? Christians are some of the notorious, terrible people you'd ever want to meet. But they're also some of the most wonderful people, too. I'm not going to lie here. I still have some Christian friends. They're super precious people. But I have a lot of precious, honest, kind, caring, atheist, non-believer friends as well. I just implore you, let that fear and let that worry, that anxiety, let it go. You're basing it on just a belief. You're choosing, even though you think you're not choosing, it's because of all the information that you've received over your lifetime from your family or from pastors or from whatever, that this is true. Listen, they don't know it's true. You say, well, maybe, what if they are true? That's my problem, Timmy. What if it is true? There's no evidence that it is true. There's zero evidence that if you don't accept Jesus, you're going to go to hell. There's zero evidence for that. All we have evidence for is right here, right now. Typically, most of the time, when you do good to other people, it returns good to you. When you do treat people poorly, that same treatment often comes back to you. Heaven and hell exist right here, right now, in the existence that we're in. You can have a life that seems like it's blessed, or you can have a life that's just full of trouble and full of heartache and problems. I have some distant relatives who are right now in prison, and go figure, they're Christian, whatever. And their life is a living hell. Well, that's what happens when you break the law, deal in drugs, and I mean, you're just, God's punishing me for my, no, God's not punishing you. You freaking knocked off a Quick Trip. That's what got you in trouble. God ain't punishing you. The devil isn't punishing you or trying to, that ain't what's going on. You held up a bank. That's why you're in trouble. Here's a good thought. It's like that movie Liar to Liar when Jim Carrey was like, stop breaking the law, asshole. Like, come on. You're in trouble because you're doing things that get you in trouble. Live a life that doesn't get you in trouble as much as you possibly can. Again, what's going on in LA? There are people that are good, kind, caring, fair people that are treating people right, and still they've been affected by the fires in LA. Don't fear the afterlife. Let that belief go. Keep studying, keep digging in to understanding, and believe things that are provably true, things that we can know, not these mystical things that are just maybe we die and we're reincarnated. Maybe we die and do this. Maybe we die. Okay, maybe. But I don't find there to be value in the thinking of the afterlife. Honestly, I think the value of what I find valuable is right now, right here, how we live, how we speak, what we believe right now about fellow humans and about Earth and about all of that stuff. Cuss and discuss below, what has been your biggest fear in your deconstruction process? What have you worried about? And if for those of you that maybe you've gone through like myself and you've worked through all that and you once were a believer and now you're not, and you've been able to let go of the fear and let go of that anxiety of, well, what if I miss heaven and what if I can't see my family and friends and it makes me sad to how have you overcome that? Cuss and discuss below. Share your story and how you overcame and how you worked through that process. For me, it was part of the process. Initially, yeah, I was a little concerned. I'll be honest. Initially, as I was walking away, I thought, man, what if I'm making a big mistake here? And eventually, I just let evidence and what we know to be true, like factually, actually know it's testable, provable, And then the things that we don't understand, those are just things that we don't understand. Like that's just it. Simple. We don't understand that. So why would we fear something that we have no idea whether it's true or not? Why live the here and why spoil the one life that we know we're living in with some fear of some unknown thing that nobody knows. And like I said just a minute ago, none of the Christians can even agree on that anyway. Just like this Michael Jones guy. He's a Christian philosopher, an apologist, if you will. And he admits we don't know what happens after we die. And a lot of his beliefs, frankly, I think, Alex O'Connor talking to him, I thought it was interesting because like this is like, it was more of a conversation than really a debate per se, because you're talking about something that no one knows. Alex doesn't know. I surely don't know. Michael doesn't know. Christopher Hitchens, who, he's passed on, so maybe he knows something now. I don't know. Right? Richard Dawkins doesn't know. Name the most popular. Joel Osteen don't know. Like none of these people know. Cuss and discuss down below. Peace.